I'm Shane Johnson, and you're watching Delicious Wine and Food with the Cork Dork. So today we're making chipotle chicken, and as you can imagine, chipotle peppers are going to play a big part of that. I'm going to pound out some chicken breast flat. I'm going to season them with some spicy seasoning, saute them in some butter in a pan with a little lime juice. Then I'm going to have this homemade chipotle salsa that we're going to make together. I'm going to pour that over the chicken, sprinkle some pepper jack cheese on top until it gets nice and melty and gooey. Then I'm going to lay avocado slices on top and garnish with a little bit of cilantro. So for the first step in making chipotle chicken, we want to make our chipotle salsa. Very easy to make, only 5 simple ingredients. Let me show you what they are. First, we have chipotle peppers. I'll tell you about those in just a second. A can of fire roasted tomatoes. Cilantro. I have about 5 cloves of garlic here. And these are called tomatillos. Now, when you're shopping for tomatillos in this grocery store, they come in these little husks, and you want to make sure you're getting the best tomatillo. You know, it's your money, right? So what I do, and it may annoy the people at the grocery store, but hey, it's my money. I go ahead and pull the husk off just a little bit so I can see inside, just to make sure there are not any holes or it's rotten in any place. But this one looks good. Pull that off. And then I'm going to half it, just like I've got the others half. Just for your information, there are 8 tomatillas here. I used 8 tomatillas in this salsa. Could you use something else? No. First thing we do, we're going to put this canned tomatoes into the blender, along with the cilantro. It's about a handful. You can just rip a bunch off, pour it in here. Stems and all. It's okay to blend the stems. They actually have flavor. It's good. So, at this stage, I'm going to put in some chipotle peppers. Well, these things are hot, so you may want to put in 1 or 2 if you want it mild, 3 if you like it good and spicy, 4 or 5 if you want to take grandma to the hospital later. That's a good start right there. There's 2, and there is 3. Oh, that's a big one. Alright, and we can go ahead and puree this just a little bit. We don't have to get too crazy at this point because we are going to be adding the tomatillas and the garlic here shortly. In order to get more smoky flavor into this salsa, I like to pan roast the tomatillas and the garlic in a hot cast iron skillet. And what we're going to do is we're going to take care of that right now. 4 minutes on one side, flip them over 4 minutes on the other side. If you need to do it a little longer, you can flip them over again for maybe 1-2 minutes more. I put the tomatillas in first because they take up more space. The garlic, you know, it can find its own little home in a crack here or there. That's easier to get in. So go ahead and put the tomatillas down first. And like I said, we'll just put the garlic where we have room for it. And there you have it. Set the timer for 4 minutes, and in 4 minutes we'll be flipping them over. If you look in here and notice that there's nice brown crusty side to the tomatillas that looks fantastic, and the aroma you can smell. It's got a nice smoky but tangy smell to it at the same time. Tomatillas are like tomatoes, except that they are tangier than tomatoes, and they also don't have all the seeds and the juice that tomatoes have. Now see how I've got nice little grill marks or browning marks on my garlic. I don't want to go too much further with those because I'd be afraid that they might get bitter, and we don't want that. So I think 8 minutes has been plenty. Get these off. Start with the garlic first. It smells so good, the garlic. You smell the aroma. Of course you don't. You're watching this on video. If you had smell-o-vision, you would. You can see the juices have come to the top of the tomatillas. That's awesome. It's going to give us some of that tangy goodness that we're going to have in our salsa. And the char on top is going to add to the smoky flavor that I'm going for. All right, out of the frying pan and into the blender. Here we go. Now, I'm not going to wait till the tomatillas cool down to blend this. And a word of caution. When you have steam inside a blender and you hit that on button, look out, it could blow the top and you can have a mess. But I'm very confident I've done this before and I'm fairly certain we're going to be okay. So, but you watch as soon as I put this on here, you'll see all the steam condensation. Yeah, it's starting to steam up a little bit. Alright, slow first. Make sure your hand's over that lid just in case it decides to go haywire on you. A little faster. And I don't want this chunky, I want it smooth, so we're going to go full tilt. Up to this point, I haven't put any salt in here, and I want to make sure I don't over-salt it. And how I accomplish that is, well, I salt a little bit at a time. Probably about a teaspoon of salt is going to be the trick, but since I'm not measuring it, I'm going to just add a little bit at a time. So do enough to about cover the top of it. And then I want to blend it again to see where we're at. Once again, be careful, it's still steamy in there. And at this point, you want to taste it to see if it's seasoned to how you like it. Wow. Oh, the smoky flavor this has, it's amazing. You know, it might not be spicy enough to take Grandma to the hospital yet. We might add one more chipotle pepper. Okay, like I said, I like mine spicy, so I wanted to add one extra chipotle pepper in there. Right, it's tasting great right now as it is. I just want to amp up the heat factors all. And I've added a little more salt because I didn't think it was quite there yet. Blend it again. Because I added chipotle pepper this time, I want to blend it at high speed for just a short time. Alright, let's see where we're at now. Make sure you rinse your spoon after you taste it, otherwise everybody's going to be tasting your own saliva. That's not good. Here we go. Wow, wish you could taste this. Very, very tangy from those tomatillas, smoky from the chipotle peppers, and from the tomatillas that we pan roasted. And those fire roasted tomatoes add a little bit of sweetness to it. So it kind of rounds out. It's a really, really well-rounded salsa. It's going to be excellent on our chipotle chicken. You know, in addition to being awesome on our chipotle chicken, this salsa makes a great condiment for chips. That's what I'm talking about. Alright, so I have two chicken breasts here, and the way they come from the store, they're thick on one end and very thin on the other. Well, that's not going to work for us. The reason why is obviously this end is going to, the thin end is going to get cooked, completely killed actually, before this actually ever gets cooked. So what I want to do is I want to pound these out and kind of make them one uniform size. So it's time to get medieval on this chicken here. Don't do it too hard or you'll find that you'll split in the chicken. It's going to happen anyway. Also, I failed to point this out, put some saran wrap over the chicken, otherwise you'll have chicken pieces flying everywhere and nobody wants that. Now let's do the other one. This is a good way to get out your anger and your aggression. It's like therapy. I'm using a store-bought seasoning blend. It's actually McCormick's spicy steak Montreal, or Montreal steak as it were. You could use anything you want really. You can just use basic salt and pepper. You're going to get plenty of flavor from the salsa and everything else we put in there. However, I like this because once again it's spicy. And this dish is all about being spicy. So, I'll read you some of the ingredients in it that so it gives you an idea. Okay, so it contains salt, black pepper, red pepper, garlic, sunflower oil, and dill and paprika. So that kind of gives you an idea of what's in this. Feel free to monkey around. You don't have to use this particular seasoning. You can make your own blend. Something would be great is to sneak a little chipotle pepper powder in there, and then you're really amping the chipotle factor. So let's get this in here. Just a little bit on this side. Season with your right hand, push it in with your left. That way you get one hand that's free and not contaminated by the chicken. Do the same on the other one. So if you're not a wine lover, but you want to enjoy an adult beverage with this chipotle chicken, it certainly goes well with beer. In fact, it goes outstanding with beer. Of course, I'm going to recommend Mexican beer, but you can use whatever beer you'd like. I have Pacifico here. It's a lighter style beer, and then we have a Negro Modelo. It's a little darker beer. It has a nice, I would say, cola taste to it. Both of these would be excellent options with the chipotle chicken that we're going to have tonight. I love white wines. My wife unfortunately does not, so I've picked out two different wines to pair with this particular chipotle chicken dish. First one is being a Sauvignon Blanc, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Sauvignon Blanc in just a second. Honig is a winery that's located in Napa Valley. Let's talk a little bit about their wine. So Sauvignon Blanc is a very acidic wine, and that's why I think probably it is hands down the #1 wine to use when cooking, because it has a lot of acidity. Also, it has, in addition to fruity qualities, citrus, and depending on where it's from, warmer climates could have a lot of tropical fruit as well. The other thing that it has going for it that other white wines don't is tends to have a little herbal herbaceousness to it, and so it makes it a little more multifaceted, I guess is the word I'm looking for, and that's really nice because it adds more complexity to your dish. Well, in this particular case, we're not going to be cooking with the wine. We're actually just going to drink it with the food. There again, though, Sauvignon Blanc is a great wine to choose with food because it cuts through a lot of richness and different things, and it just seems to pair well. In this particular case, we have a spicy dish with a thick tomato salsa. It's got tomatoes and tomatillos. The tomatillos are tangy, and that's going to mirror off of this a little bit, and the acidity in this wine is going to be able to keep up with the acidity in the tomatoes. Smells crisp and refreshing. I get a lot of ripe melon, a little grass. Like I said, my sides of my tongue are buzzing from the acidity. It's very refreshing. Over here we have a Sagacio Zinfandel. Now, Sagacio is pretty famous for Zinfandels, and they are based in Sonoma. The thing I like about this is it is big, bold, and fruity. And the reason why I chose it for the chipotle chicken is because we have a spicy dish. I wanted something rich and fruity. Now, one thing that Zinfandel does have is a high alcohol content, and usually when you have a dish that's spicy, you don't want to have a lot of alcohol in your wine because it just tends to make everything, well, it tends to burn and it over accentuates heat. But in this particular case, the wine is so thick and fruity and syrupy, almost, if you will, that it kind of cuts through all that spice and is a nice contrast to it. And I think Zinfandel is one of the few wines that can get away with the high alcohol but yet still work with spicy dishes. Another component that doesn't play well with spicy dishes like this chipotle chicken we're going to have is anything that's been aged in a lot of oak, where the oak is pretty dominant. The oak has tannins, of course, and tannins and the heat don't react well very well with each other. So I would probably steer clear of your big bold Cabernet Sauvignon that's been aged in oak for 2 years. Let's take a little taste of this. It's like bursting with raspberries and blackberries. It's very jammy. Again, very rich. There is oak in there. Very, very subtle. Very, very good wine. So either way, if you're a white wine drinker, I recommend Honig Sauvignon Blanc or any other Sauvignon Blanc. I would want something a little maybe from Chile or from California. Those two areas specifically would have enough of the tropical as well as citrus fruit and a little bit of herbaceousness in it. So if you're into white wine, that's a good way to go. If you are a red wine drinker, Zinfandel is the way to go. And there's a lot of great Zinfandel producers, especially in California. Okay, so we have a hot pan here. It's on about medium-high heat. I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of butter and put it in the pan. We're going to place our chicken breast inside the pan. While I got the chicken breast going, I want to squeeze a little bit of lime. It's important that I put the lime on top of the chicken and around. It's going to fuse with the butter and it's actually going to stick to the chicken. It's going to give it a nice lime flavor. What we're trying to do is get the chicken brown on the bottom here. And when the chicken comes up to with it, where you can see it's cooked and it starts to turn white and more opaque here around the sides, that's when we know that the first side has been cooked and we're ready to flip them. We're going to go ahead and flip the chicken because it's got a nice brown crust on it. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and pour some of our salsa in to cover. This is the chipotle salsa we made earlier. Alright. Now what we want to do is go ahead and put a little of this pepper jack cheese that I shredded earlier. Put it all over here. Get it, spread it evenly over each chicken breast. And at this point, I want to cover it. And what the covering is going to do is it's going to allow the cheese to melt and the chicken to steam. Okay, so our chicken is done cooking. I'm going to go ahead and dress it with the avocado and finish it off with a little cilantro garnish. Here we go. So I've got my slices of avocado here. And we just want to kind of put them across the chicken like this. We're going to finish it off with a little cilantro garnish. A little bit of chopped cilantro all over the top, like so. And put it on your plate. And we're good to go. I'm going to give it a nice little cut. I'm going to get some avocado in this because avocado's great.
It's awesome. One of my favorite things you make.
So, chicken's nice, moist, and tender. Slight bit of lime hint that you hear when you get when we put it in the dish. Smoky, fiery taste from that sauce, that chipotle sauce we made, and the creamy avocado and the cheese. This is amazing, and let's just face it, the wine doesn't suck either. This is Shane Johnson, and you have been watching Delicious Wine and Food with the Cork Dork. We appreciate you tuning in. We love your feedback, negative or positive. Either is good. And cheers. You know, this chipotle sauce is not only going to be awesome on our chicken, it also makes a great condiment for tortilla chips. Very good.
Yeah. No.
Okay. Alright, this is my lovely wife, Leslie. She's camera shy. We got our chipotle chicken. I made a side dish of Mexican rice. You could use beans, whatever you want. Refried beans would be good. Also, a vegetable if you want. That's also a good side dish. It's a chilly February day up here in Prescott, and I've got just the thing to warm myself up and have a frog in my throat at the same time. It's a chilly day up here in Prescott, but I have this spicy southwestern dish that's going to warm it up. It's going to warm the day up? I don't think it's going to warm the day up. Try this again. It's going to get more fun the more wine I drink. Alright. 3, 2. It's a chilly day up here in Prescott, but I have this spicy southwestern dish that's going to spice